I guess first things first, smaller group here gives us a big advantage. We can make this really interactive. So at any time throughout this, raise a hand, ask a question. Would love to have more interaction, less or more conversation, less me just talking to everybody.
Don't forget the cord up there.
Trust me, I'm going to face plant at some point. So, like Doug said, I'm Kyle Utley, CTO at Landmark Credit Union, talking about technical wealth. It's really just a juxtaposition on technical debt, which I'm sure we've all kind of heard of. Another thing, back to this being the inaugural event, we all get to in a year say how cool we were because we knew about this way before anyone else did.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to come in hot with a big statement here. And since we're not so far from May the 4th, we're going to go Yoda style. When it comes to building wealth or managing debt, you either do or you do not. There is no try. I see this as a key leadership principle. Like as leaders, technical debt, the management of that has typically been looked at as an operational task or a maintenance task. And how many of us really love the operational or maintenance side of things, right? That's something that just we have to do that, nice and boring, but I want to get to the fun stuff. Managing technical debt is the key to being able to do the fun stuff. So it's a key leadership principle in my book. And I think that we'll all agree when we're done here. So why am I talking about this? Like we said, Landmark Credit Union started about 7 years ago, came in as a consultant to do an engineering assessment. Going to be 3 months, in and out, knew the CIO there from previous work, and he had been really transparent with me. I knew I was coming into a target-rich environment. So 3 months, we're working through, the organization had kind of neglected IT for a very long time. And so there was a lot of opportunity. And as I'm building out my recommendation deck to go out to our executive team and say, hey, here's what I think we should do. It kept focusing and kept going back to, we got to clean this up. We've got to manage that. We've got to kill this debt. We've got to pay it off. That feels a little less fun, a little less positive. So as I'm thinking about this, it's like, how do I, flip this around a little bit and talk about the positive things we're going to do? And then how to make this less about tech? So get the tech out of my mouth. Let's talk the business language, and get them on board with this. And it really turned out to, hey, we're in financial services. Debt is a thing. That's a technical term, right? But I hadn't really heard of people talk about technical wealth. Whatever it was, shower, bathroom, whatever. It's just like the greatest ideas come to us, right? And all of a sudden it's like, oh, let's flip it to wealth. Let's make a positive. We're not paying off debt. We're building wealth. Now, who wants to pay off debt, right? It's fun. It's good. It's like windows or a roof on your house. You need it. You're glad it's there, but it's not fun. Building wealth, that's fun. So this is something that I've become very, very passionate about. And as a leader, push this down to my team members to make sure they're thinking about how to build wealth as opposed to just managing debt. All right, so getting into this, we want to have a couple of level sets. What do I mean by technical wealth? It's really the total value of the assets around people, process, technology that you have in your organization. The majority of this does not fall to your balance sheet. No one really knows it's there. It's, the little service that you wrote that, takes a common thing that you don't have to rewrite every time you have a project. It's, the better sleep you get at night because the systems are running. It's about, not so much about being flashy, it's about being ready. So technical wealth, as you're managing this, as you amass this, you have the ability to adapt to the changing environment. And as we all know, technology is rapidly changing, compounding on top of itself. And just like investing, it is compounding, and it takes discipline to build wealth. You have to be intentional. You're always going to get pressure to go faster, cut corners, get that delivery done sooner. Which brings us into the debt side of things. It's opportunity lost. So as you're incurring debt, this is typically from external pressures. You're having to deliver faster. You're having to, account for some skill gaps that you might have in your team. It is really an invisible tax on innovation, and you pay that tax with time. Something you're going to hear me talk a lot about here is having the time to do the things that are right, as opposed to just managing, the systems and keeping the lights on. So we want to shift to that, and we want to really start talking about, debt. We trade off the long-term value for a short-term win. We want to flip that paradigm around. We want to talk about how do we give long-term value and sacrifice a little bit of that short-term win. How many here know they've got some debt holding their teams back right now? Probably all of us. I'm raising my hand. All right. So, cost of doing nothing. How many of us have worked in, an industry that goes by the paradigm, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? I've been, in my career, healthcare and finance for the most part. Two very staunch believers in if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I've walked in over the last 11 years, really made my living and cut my teeth on modernizing, identifying debt, and without calling it this at the time, building the wealth for those organizations. If they don't do anything, like you get something running, it's great, it's working, let's not touch it, it's working. Over the years, that starts to degrade. You have a type of technical debt called bit rot. So, bit rot. So, the systems are constantly changing. We're updating things. Think about like .NET Framework 3.5. That thing is still supported by Microsoft and has a life cycle until 2029. The newest .NET long-term release support, 3 years. Every 3 years, new one's coming out. Bit rot happens much faster than it used to. We've got to be careful about, falling into the sense that stagnation is safe. It is not. I worked at an organization about 10 years ago. They had just started using a specific operating system built off of Visual Fox Pro. Anyone know what that is? Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's about a 40, 50-year-old programming technology. And they got that thing working, and they just let it sit for about a decade. I come in, it's now, people are retiring. How do we find developers that want to learn Visual Fox Pro? It's not going to be the level of people that you're wanting to start cleaning up debt. We had a 2-year initiative to work through that debt, hire the people, get them excited about that, and actually call it off. As a leader, I remember I got lucky enough, my daughter was an Irish dancer, and the location, there was an Irish dance competition that weekend. My parents, my wife, everybody got to come down for that. I went and did the migration 2-year project. I had a whole weekend to get that done. I walked in after day 2 and we were done. And from a leadership standpoint, I didn't do anything. Like I ordered some food. I opened doors for people bringing the food to people. I walked around, make sure you had it. And 2 years of building wealth, getting the team understanding what they're supposed to be doing and valuing that build and doing things that are right, not things that are fast, allowed me to relax. I sat down in my parents' hotel room. They said, how'd it go? I was like, good. They're like, are you tired? I was like, not really. I actually didn't do anything. My job was 2 years in advance prepping people for that. But the cost of doing nothing, that stuff is going to compound on top of itself. That debt is going to compound, and it's going to be much, much harder. You have to stay on top of it. This is active management, and that's that key leadership skill. All right, that innovation tax that we talked about, it's time. I said it before, I'll say it again. This is a big one. The time that you spend managing and keeping your systems up or recovering from things is the tax you're going to be paying. I've got a new network engineer that I hired. He used this in his interview because we're very transparent when we're bringing people in. Hey, there's some debt. We're looking for you to help clean it up. He said, hey, my job is to get you to boring. I love that statement. I want my operations to be boring. Then I can focus on the fun stuff. All right, so pillars of building wealth. These are 3 things that I think we all need to be doing and probably are doing as our process. But again, disciplined, intentional, really thinking about it. All right, so number 1, first and foremost, as a leader, managing your people, investing in your people, making sure that they have what they need, that they're empowered, they have situational awareness, and they understand the context and where you're trying to go. You have 3 types of people you should be investing in as well, and they're not all as obvious. First and foremost, your team, obviously. Direct control there. Secondly, the people in your organization, your end users, the requesters, the people who are asking you to do things for them. As a technology leader, unless you're in a business that is building tech for technologists, so your business is technology is not your why. You have to understand what your people are trying to do, where they're trying to go, why they're trying to go there, so that you can align technology strategy with the business strategy. Technology can be an enabler or it can be a hinderer. Knowing what those business users are trying to do, where they're trying to steer that organization, is key to you being a successful technology leader. There's also the people that aren't in your organization yet, the people that you may need to hire. You got small Milwaukee here, right? Everybody knows everybody. We're all stealing from each other. The more you do on this, the more that you have fun, the more that you're telling a good story and get people excited internally, they're going to talk to people when they're out at those events that we talked about. Let's go have a beer, talk about tech. I'm going to tell you how great Landmark is and what kind of fun stuff we're doing. Conversely, let's go have a beer. You're not doing this type of stuff. You're not managing your debt and building wealth. Let's go talk about how bad Landmark is. When I first got there 7 years ago, it was extremely hard to recruit the level of talent that I needed to do what I felt we needed to do because of the stigma of, hey, it's a small credit union in southeastern Wisconsin. How fun is that? I'm looking for high-level technologists, platform engineers, terraforming, Docker, Kubernetes, all that. They're not thinking a credit union is doing that. So we had to get out there. I actually worked with a good friend of mine, and we built out attractors and detractors and started talking about how do we accentuate the attractors and get that out there, get people ready to go. Yeah.
Just to add to that, and your customers noticed that. I was a Landmark customer and was and I am again, but I went away from them because you could tell in the branches that their technology was just light years behind their competitors and it was causing an inconvenience. And then I came back because you upgraded your ATMs, your branches are newer, you can tell you're dealing with newer equipment, I got in and out faster, so your customers definitely noticed.
I really appreciate that. It's great to hear. And that is absolutely the impact of wealth. So for us, obviously, 7 years ago, I come in, that's the start of, hey, how do we manage the debt, build the wealth? And we have changed out almost every single system in our stack. And we have put processes in place and we brought people in that can manage those stacks and do that work. And now we are more boring. We're not exactly where we want to be. I don't know if anyone ever is, but we're better. And we're doing those things. We've got the advanced ATMs that you can work through. We've got better online mobile banking. Like when I first got there, I opened an account through our online and mobile pieces. I think I had 10 pages of notes about nope, fix, right? So here, but the last thing I think I was talking about, the external people that you don't know about. Get out. Go to IC Stars events, go to the MKE Tech Hub, get your name out there, get people to know, because you don't know who you're going to need until you need them. So put that time out. Again, it's a long game. So be out there years in advance. Even if you don't have, roles, you're not looking for something new, get out there, get yourself known. That's, putting down some groundwork that you're gonna be able to stand in and build that wealth. All right, next, modernizing processes and platforms. The processes part, I think, is fairly straightforward. Find a way to generate data that tells you how you're doing without creating a bunch of administrative overhead. So look at the lean principles, look at the Toyota way. Those are, areas that I, very much focus on. I don't want my engineers having to record their time in a different system or do additional work that takes them away from doing what they should be doing to deliver the value. And I'm an engineer in my background as well, came up in the software side of things, so very opposed to having to, have a bunch of administrative, work on top of what I'm doing. So let's work on that. From a platform standpoint, the more modern they are, the easier you are to integrate. In our business, we have a lot of off-the-shelf software, and our, real differentiation point is building that middleware and that integration. So keep building out those platforms, automate those things. Find something that you're doing consistently, automate it. Get angry about manual tasks. I'm a Bears fan. Sorry for Packers friends, but 85 Bears. Mike Ditka came into the room during training camp, and he talked to that defense. He said, I want you to have a chip on your shoulder. No one thinks you're good enough. Get angry. I want us to be angry about manual work. When I got into Landmark, we had a manual run book for our operations. They were not boring. It took 1.5 to 2 full-time resources every day to manage that. And it was moving files around, doing whatever, and it was people that had certain knowledge, skills, abilities, doing what they knew how to do, right? So it's also leveling up, getting those people skills up to par. Architecting for scale and resistance. Think about the end user's expectations on us, on software. They have increased dramatically, especially from an availability standpoint and a performance standpoint. I mean, you mentioned right there, you left Landmark because the system just felt behind. It was taking too long to do things, right? If we're not getting responses in sub-seconds nowadays, what the hell's wrong with this thing? So we've got to fight for cleaner architectures. What that means for me and my teams is keeping it simple. I have found that is by far harder than overcomplicating. You can overcomplicate a system, no time flat. Keeping it simple, that's where we earn our money. Observability, that's something where if you have a problem, because they're going to happen, and that's actually a point I want to make, issues are going to happen. We've got to be good at preventing that, but we've got to be great at recovering from it. They're going to happen, so be good at prevention, great at recovery, and that's that resilience piece. Make sure you're redundant everywhere. Make sure that you can spin up a new server in no time flat. Our current modernization efforts are around platform engineering and looking at terraforming everything, being able to build out our core key critical software pieces with a push of a button, or as close as we can get to it. Blue-green style deployments, creating time for ourselves to do more fun things, getting away from the boring. But observability, that's a power that allows you to take that monumental haystack with a little needle that you're looking for when that problem hits. You can split out into 10. You go, I know it's over there. You find that problem much, much quicker. How many of us know this guy? It really is only one. John Wooden. So I have a gentleman's bet, and I need to take a picture of this group to show that the majority of people know who John Wooden was. So, do you guys mind if I take the picture? All right, hands up if you know John Wooden. Hands up if you don't know. I got to win. Come on. Thank you. Well, I'm going for Steve on that one. If you guys have watched Coming to America, Trading Places, the gentleman's bet, $1. We've had a number of those across the years. I've got dollar bills hanging in my office, and people are like, what the hell is going on over here? But right's better than fast. Another big thing that I push on my team. We want to do it right. I will absolutely take both. I want both. But I need right. Fast will come if we are doing things correctly. But if it doesn't, and it's the right thing to do, we fight for right. Because ultimately, if you don't do it right the first time, you will absolutely have to go back and redo it. Or fix it, or you've built wealth that you're going to have to manage, and now your operations aren't boring anymore. So that's one. And we've actually found a situation in Landmark recently with a project where we are going back and having to redo something. Not fun. All right, so when should we start? Let's ask a question. If you had to double your output, this year without adding a single person, what's going to break first? Is it going to be your infrastructure, quality of code, maybe your people, your skills, your ability to release? What is this going to break?
I'd say people.
A lot of times that's absolutely. So when should we start? Obviously now, as soon as possible. But starting, it's not the hardest thing, but it is where organizations tend to stall. And it's not because we don't want to fix it or we don't know how to fix it. It's because it's not just your decision as an IT leader. It's an organizational commitment that has to be made. Like we said, this doesn't happen overnight. And there's going to have to be a little trust put in the process. Like I said, in that compounding system, start sooner. Let's get building on technical wealth. Let's start managing that debt as soon as possible. Delivery times are going to increase. Do not shy away from that. Be transparent with the people that you're talking about, your investors, if you will, people that you're trying to get to commit to this. Let them know, hey, it's going to take a little bit longer now, but soon we're going to have a little bit of benefit. At Landmark, we started just a couple of little services, little things like, hey, we email on everything, or we're sending files all the time. Let's get those quick wins out of the way. You build out some positive feelings, some positive outcome there. Those people that were investing in you there, they now become your champion. They start singing your praises to others. Oh my God, this is so much better than it used to be. You just give them, it took a little bit longer than I wanted to, but it's there. And then eventually, and like we are at Landmark now, I have a network of services that we can cobble together in different ways and be more composable, where the request that would have taken us 6 months to build previously might only take us 2. Don't overthink it either. It's not rocket science. You can start with very little planning or effort, because a lot of the foundational things in tech, like that debt that you need to manage, it's screaming at you. You probably already know about it. You know it's there. Acknowledge it. Put some things out there. You don't need that 12-month roadmap to start. You will need that at some point, but to just get started, you do not. And again, those quick wins, build those unforeseen champions. So first part of starting, fund the foundations. This doesn't have to be hard dollars. All it has to be, the word, it's time. Give time to your people. Give them the okay to start paying this down. You know, way back when Google had like the 20% time, right, where Friday's innovation day. Give your people time to start understanding debt and paying it down. Make a project out of it. Fight for some priority in the organization to do that. Find things that are impactful. We had one piece of software that was quote unquote mature. It'd been around for 3 or 4 years. It took an FTE managing that all the time. It managed and calculated all of our salespeople's payouts. So people in the branches, they open up accounts, they're on some commission. That thing took a person managing it all the time to make sure those payouts were correct. We used a little bit of data, and we got people to give us some time. And then as a leader, shield your people. Get out in front of them, blocking and tackling for them. Let them be the skilled players. You're just blocking. You're just getting the obstacles and the roadblocks out of the way, letting them see some daylight. That is where your long-term velocity is born. All right, creating that inventory. When you go talking about building an inventory, you're gonna rely on the people that probably got the credit card in their hand that charged up the debt in the first place. You've heard don't call the baby ugly. You know, you need the people that know where the bodies are buried to be actively participating so you can find them all, get them identified, documented, and start to pay those off, right? So you've got to create a bit of a safe space for people. At Landmark, we have a team statement in these types of meetings when we get started that goes, we believe everyone was doing the best they could given their current knowledge or their knowledge, skills, and abilities at the time. Trying to avoid any kind of real blame. We want to not be blame free because there's some blame there, but we want to be blame aware, right? So, hey, we did these things. We don't want to do them again. If we try to say, oh, no one's fault, whatever, we might make those mistakes again. If we say, hey, these aren't right, we don't think we meant to do them, but hey, we got to fix them. So we're aware that we talk about that. And we don't want people table flipping this stuff. I mean, who's been at the end of a game where you think, you got everything going, you're going to win, and brah. You got to keep those people safe, keep them engaged, keep them moving. All right, and last one, aligning talent with long-term value. Start to incentivize. Something as stupid as a sticker. So think about college football. Ohio State, not a fan, but they're a good example here. You do something good, you get a Buckeye. They slap a sticker on your helmet. For this, we have quarterly awards. Who knows who that guy is? Old video game players? Anybody? Dig Dug? He's the Dig Dug guy. So we've got this award. It's called Digging Deeper. This is reinforcing the fact that we want people digging deeper. It's not just, hey, let's solve that problem. Let's understand what caused that problem. Let's get to the root. Let's really dig deeper and figure this out. And I have my leadership team talking about this, talking about who did something great that deserves something like this, because we do want it to be exclusive. It's not participation trophies, just throw them out to everybody, right? We want it to mean something. So when someone's got that sticker on their laptop, they did something really cool. They dug in, they were committed. And by me forcing this on my team to talk about it at our leadership meetings twice a month, who's doing what? They're now starting to talk to their teams because they want their teams to get recognized. So now we're reinforcing that. So as a leader, you're throwing that downhill. Hey people, This is an award we're going to have someone out there hopefully every quarter to give this to. Who is it? Now they're thinking about that. And now their goals and their mindset as they're doing their work is thinking about, how do I get one of my people recognized? How do we do better, right? So getting people to understand this. And that's really, again, just aligning them to that long-term value. Get them thinking more about how sustainable is the value that I'm delivering versus how fast is it? Like instant gratitude. I was a back-end developer. We were all about sustainability, maintainability, all that. And then I had my front-end counterparts. So I was like, oh, give it to me now. I want to see the pretty picture. We want that long-term. All right. Rule number 1 at Landmark. Passed down from my boss to me, from his former boss to him. Don't do anything stupid. It seems really, really obvious. Yes?
Does Steve follow that rule? Because I've seen Steve, I'm just at some questionable things. I just want to get that out there.
There is a term called managing up.
Okay.
So, but it is something that I've been working with Steve for over a decade now. And we actually traveled quite a bit together and got to know each other really, really well. And this is something that a former boss of his told him. It's really around, like, you get into the pressures and, the seriousness of project delivery and like something's running late or something's not going exactly right. It gets really easy to start cutting corners and creating that debt, right? Stopping and just saying this, we say this out loud in meetings, and anyone from the most junior person on the team to the most senior person on the team has, a mandate to say, hey, are we doing something stupid here? It gets you to actually think about it. So I encourage all of you, like, as you're going through this stuff, say it out loud. Ask the question to people. It sounds obvious, right? None of us are meaning to do anything stupid, but we do sometimes. This stops us, and it stopped us at Landmark a couple different times. From something that, like, we wouldn't have done that, or we would have done that and shouldn't have if we didn't ask the question. All right, so I'm going to leave you with this one. Future belongs to the wealthy. From the leadership standpoint, if we're investing in technical wealth and managing our debt, we're not just building a stronger IT organization, we're building healthier and stronger organizations. Because again, technology is not why we do this. We are enabling outcomes. We're enabling people to interact with their finances when, where, and how they want in an efficient, effective way. So, healthier and stronger organizations. That's how we become a value add and not just order takers in the IT department. That's that. Any questions?
I love how you're defending your team along the way and making the common enemy technical debt. How has it impacted your team?
So the team loves the idea of right better than fast. We've all been in the industry. We've all been pressured to do things faster. When a leader comes in and is defending you, like, hey, no, we have to do this right or else we're going to pay for it later. And it is an option to, when I go up into our steering committee level stuff and say, hey, here, portfolio manager, here are the things we need to do. Here's the right way, and here's what that means. Here's a fast way, and here's what that means. It's up to them to choose, but I'm going to fight as hard as I can to get the right. Don't always win, but then we manage the debt. We understand it and move from there. Yeah.
I assume your employee retention was improved?
Employee retention has been very good. Very good. So when you go through modernization efforts, you're going to lose. So I look at this as like, hey, I'm building a bus. Everyone here is going to have a seat. I'm going to show it to you. I am not going to force you to sit down. I want you to sit down and go for the ride with us. I want you bought in on this. If you don't, I will kick your ass off. So there is some attrition there, and it's going to happen. Like I said, I've been doing this for about 11 or 12 years now across multiple organizations, both internally and externally. And as a leader, you have to plan for that. So when you start to go through this and you're, hey, I'm going to start building wealth, paying off the debt, there are certain people, they do not want to go along for that ride. And most of the time, you're going to know who they are. Our platform modernization, we're finally actually doing the modernization effort, but it's been 1.5 years, 2 years getting that team ready. And we've had a decent amount of turnover with people that weren't ready and or didn't want to get ready to go for that ride. But the technical debt piece, we built something as we were doing our core conversion. You guys know Dudley Do Right? The damsel in distress and all that, and Snidely. We had an idea before COVID hit. We didn't get to do this, unfortunately. But we had like graphics up on our wall in our office where every time we killed a piece of technical debt, you were going to get a Snidely Whiplash twist in his mustache, and that train was going to get closer to the damsel getting, pulled out of the ropes and saved from the train. So make it fun. Like, that's a big thing. What we do in IT is typically high stress. It can be hard on people. We're asking you to work extra hours. We're always on call, if you will. Let's have some fun doing that. Let's not make it even more stressful.